Hello and welcome to Inside the VI. I'm your host, Aaron Schultz. On this week's episode, we have our Spotlight Player of the Week brought to you by the Queen's feature on Lynden Eddy. We have an interview with newly acquired Victoria Cougar PJ Heger. We have discussion with the panel, news, scores, and so much more. This is Inside the VI. And we're going to kick things off by looking at the news from this past week inside the VIJHL. One trade in the VIJHL this past week as the Oceanside Generals traded forward PJ Heger to the Victoria Cougars in exchange for cash considerations. Heger has 13 goals and 10 assists for a total of 23 points in 30 games with the Generals this season. Oceanside Generals defenseman Chandler Breakery suffered a separated AC joint and is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. Breakery has a goal and 6 assists for a total of 7 points in 26 games this season. And finally, the Nanaimo Buccaneers have added forward Garrett Heathcote to their roster. That's all the news this week inside the VIJHL. As mentioned before in news, the Oceanside Generals traded their top goal scorer PJ Heger to the Victoria Cougars. The play-by-play man for the Oceanside Generals, Dominic Bassi, had a chance to talk to Heger before Thursday night's game between the Cougars and the Generals. Take a listen.
First of all, have you ever been traded before? Is this something you're used to or a bit of a new experience for you?
Completely new experience. I've never played junior hockey before, never been a part of the whole trading atmosphere of a league, but this is the first year, and it's been quite an eventful year with trades and whatnot, and so it's completely new territory.
How do you take it? I mean, how do you sort of approach a new team, coming into a new locker room, realizing that they went out and got you? That has to feel pretty good. What's your mindset coming in here?
Oh, it feels good. Obviously, it's good to be wanted. I've always had that kind of a mind. But it's also when I'm coming to a new team, you want to come in just a fresh palate and just come in, put your head down, work hard, and then that's when you can really start to show people your personality and show them who you are, because they'll respect you more as a player if you gain their respect from your hard work rather than coming in and thinking that they owe it to you.
How did this trade come about? Was it a situation where the team came to you and said, look, we have a chance to move you to a team in a much better position, obviously, or was it a situation where you maybe went to the team and said, hey, I'd like to try and explore some options? How did everything break out for you?
It was following the events at Oceanside. My advisor and I thought it was best for my hockey, and which was a tough decision. Parksville, absolutely love the town, love the people, love the organization. But at the end of the day, it's what's best for my hockey, and that was the right move. And I am more than happy to be here. I'm ready to work hard, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of my question. How do you look back on your time in Oceanside? I know a lot of things were going on. A couple of coaches rolled through in your time, and a ton of your teammates, guys you became friends with, I'm sure, ended up getting traded away. But also, for you personally, I thought it was a pretty successful time, a good growth in your career, a great, start to your rookie season in junior hockey here on the island. How do you look back on your experience with the Generals?
I look back, and I am ever thankful for the situation that I was in. I think that I am forever thankful for the tough times we went through, because that really made me grow more as a person. Just from the summer to now, I feel like a completely different person. I feel like I could take on a lot of different things that I couldn't have before I came here. And so all the events that conspired at Oceanside, they were all for the better in the long run. It really made me who I am today.
The Victoria Cougars are a very storied franchise, especially in the last 10 years. They've done a lot of winning, and they seem to have a real culture of winning, a real strict way, and I don't mean strict in a bad way, but a real set, rigid way that they do things, and it works for this organization. Have you noticed that already? How much of an eye-opener is it coming here?
Oh, it's an eye-opener, that's for sure. It starts from the top. The coach is a very intense guy. His love of the game is great. The seriousness of everyone in the locker room as well is something that I really, really feel great to be a part of. I came here, I moved 2,000 miles to play hockey, so I am serious about it, and it feels good to be around other people who are just as serious.
with Mark Van Helvert or Sunil Karat, have you had a chance to talk about what they see for you with this team, how you're going to fit into a roster that has a lot of guys with skill that score goals, which is what you do? Have they talked about what they want to see from you that's going to sort of make your experience the best here?
Yes, they've come to me and they've said, they've thrown systems at me as well, and I've retained them as well as I could. But the first week or so, I feel like they're just going to let me, kind of find my own way. And obviously, they're looking for me to be a smart player, follow the systems as well, but also just let me play. Because at the end of the day, hockey's a fun sport, and why would you play if it's not fun? And so that's what's going to happen. That's what they're going to, I think, let me do, is just play my game.
Any nerves playing against Oceanside in your first game? It's kind of interesting how that worked out.
Yes, there obviously are some nerves, but I left Oceanside with a good amount of dignity. I mean, with great dignity, and I was straightforward with the team, and so I feel more. I'm happier to play them rather than nervous. It will be good to see the guys. Just maybe give a few shots to some good guys, some of my friends and everything. So it'll be an experience to play people that I've grown to love. So.
Hi, I'm Doug Routley, MLA for Nanaimo North Cowichan. As a cyclist and hockey player, sports has always been an important part of my personal development. We're very lucky in Nanaimo to have a rich heritage and history of athletic achievement, and I'm proud to support sporting activities and opportunities for people of all ages in our wonderful community.
I'm now joined by Dean Fisher and Madison Boone, who's back from after being joined live by satellite last week. And we got one question on the panel here for us this week. As you know, the Christmas break is coming up soon. So, hypothetical question, if you are the head coach or a general manager of a VIJHL team, what is your opinions on partying or trying to get some extra practice in during the holiday times? Dean?
Aaron, I think it all depends on what team you are. In my opinion, if you're the Victoria Cougars or you are the Campbell River Storm, the coach can give them a little bit of leeway. They can say, you know what, we're dominating the VIJHL right now. You know what, you boys can take a break. You guys can chill out for a little bit, not necessarily go out to all those parties where alcohol is involved, the underage players, but at that point you can say, you know what, you guys, we're doing so well right now. You know what, go enjoy Christmas, go enjoy the break. But if your teams like the Oceanside Generals, the Peninsula Panthers, Kerry Park Islanders, West Shore Wolves, you have to say, okay, you got to stick to your meals, your meal routine. You got to stick to your curfew. You got to keep training, because these are teams that still have a shot at making the playoffs. Aside from Peninsula and Oceanside, obviously. But West Shore and Kerry Park, they still have a shot at the playoffs. So I definitely think it depends on which team you play for. Aaron, what do you think?
I can see that point, but I'm going to go a different route here. I'm going to say there should probably be a standard for all 9 teams in the VIJHL involved. I don't know, I'm a fan. If I was a head coach or a GM, I would say, okay, you can drink any alcohol you want if it's involved with family members. Be safe. You can party on New Year's, because, let's face it, teenagers are going to party on New Year's. Illegal or not, that's going to happen. So just be safe while you're doing it for those few days, but I don't want any of my players going out to parties, especially, as Dean said, if you're a lower team like Peninsula or Oceanside right now, partying instead of practicing and relaxing, that will just throw you off. It won't get you ready for the upcoming season. And for a team like Campbell River Victoria, if you say, okay, just take the rest of the Christmas break off, you got some leeway, that kind of makes them too comfortable, I think. So you need to have that pressure behind you to make sure that you want to keep going and to keep practicing so you get better. So I'd say keep practicing shots. Shoot at your garage door if you want to, or go for a run, or try and get as much ice time, like maybe every second day or so. So I would say practice every second day or so. Stay away from any high school parties or any big raves or anything of that matter. Stick with family celebrations, stick with New Year's, and then be ready to come back in the second half.
Yeah, for me, it's, the GM and the coach can say as much as they want, they can preach as much as they want, whether they are for, like you said, either, allowing them to have more leeway if they're doing better, or, make them keep practicing if they're still in the race. But in the end, it's really not up to them, because it's the kids' choices in the end, the decisions that they make. And you can give as much guidance as you want, as much guidance as you think you can give. But at the end of the day, it's really their choice, and you can only guide them the way that you think is best for your team.
I'd say that you can try and do your best, but that kind of says about your team if they're going to choose to go to high school parties rather than practice and try and get better for the second half of the season. Because if I'm a coach or a GM, I want some committed players who are going to get ready for the second half rather than just, woot, let's go party for this break. I want some, at least a little bit of practice. I'm not saying don't have fun. I say you need to keep yourself in shape at least and don't get too out of control. Get ready.
Yeah, and like you said, if a team like Campbell River, if they start thinking like, wow, you said, let's go have some fun. You'd be like, well, they're giving way too much confidence. And you know what happens when you have too much confidence? You get too cocky. When you get too cocky, that's when troubles can start happening. You guys agree?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. You come back from that long break, and I completely agree with what you're saying. Now that I hear it, you go out, you're a team like Victoria, you're a team like Campbell River. Your coach says, you know what, take it easy, go. You come back, and all of a sudden you tank the second half of the season. So I definitely agree with what you boys are saying.
Yeah.
We've seen this before last season even. In the first half of the season last year, the Nanaimo Buccaneers were head-to-head with Victoria for top team in the league, and then, as we know, in the second half of the season, everything just went downhill. They lost to Campbell River in the first round of the playoffs, so I'm not sure if that was all involved with partying, but that can show you how drastically things can change in the second half. So yeah, it's pretty much, you gotta stay focused during this break, because I think it's make or break. And what'd you say, Madison, that if you're not committed during the break to get better, would that be fuel to probably trade some of your players, or probably cut some of your players when it comes to that crunch playoff time?
Yeah, I agree totally with what you're saying, because if you don't have committed players or players that buy into the coaching system and they just want to go over and party and do whatever they want, it's not going to work. Because you can preach as much as you want, like you said, but at the end it's their choice. And if they don't buy in, they don't work hard, they don't keep in shape in the not the off season, in the Christmas break, then bad things start to happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be absolutely dreadful if the Campbell River Storm came back and tanked the second half of the season, because right now, in my opinion, they are the favorite to win the VIJHL championship, because I think that make a bunch of different people happy, because one, it'd be a different scene than from Victoria having Victoria win it every year. But if Campbell River came and won, that would be so good. So if they tank the second half of the season, I personally, I'd be very disappointed.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all for our panel discussion this week. Great talk, boys. It's now time for our Spotlight Player of the Week, brought to you by the Queens, feature on Lynden Eddy. Our Spotlight Player of the Week, brought to you by the Queens, is Lynden Eddy. Lynden Eddy is a defenseman who wears number 4 for the Carey Park Islanders. Eddy is 19 years of age and comes from Duncan, British Columbia. Eddy spent the last 2 seasons with the Nanaimo Buccaneers, racking up 21 goals and 26 assists for a total of 47 points in 65 games. With the Islanders this season, Eddy has 3 goals and a career-high 21 assists for a total of 24 points in 30 games. Our Spotlight Player of the Week is brought to you by the Queens, the home for live music in Nanaimo. For more information, visit www.thequeens.ca. Our scores for the VIJHL this week begin on Wednesday, December 10th, where the West Shore Wolves blew out the Saanich Braves by a score of 6-2. On Thursday, December 11th, the Campbell River Storm beat the Nanaimo Buccaneers 7-3, and Victoria Cougars beat down the Oceanside Generals 6-1. On Friday, December 12th, the Saanich Braves fell to the Campbell River Storm 6-4. The West Shore Wolves defeated the Comox Valley Glacier Canes 5-2, and the Victoria Cougars won again by defeating the Peninsula Panthers 5-1. On Saturday, December 13th, the Comox Valley Glacier Canes beat the Oceanside Generals by a score of 9-5, and the Carey Park Islanders defeated the Peninsula Panthers 9-2. And finally, on Sunday, December 14th, the Carey Park Islanders edged the Saanich Braves 7-6 in a goal-scoring affair. And in a possible preview for the VIJHL Finals, the Victoria Cougars defeated the Campbell River Storm 4-3 in overtime. That's the scores this week in the VIJHL. And that concludes this week's episode of Inside the VI. Once again, I'm your host, Aaron Schultz. A big thank you to my colleagues Masson Boone and Dean Fisher, to our parent company iNet Online and Christopher Munns-Mickelin. Also, thanks to Doug Routley, Emily Nanaimo North Cowichan, and the Queens in Nanaimo. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Inside the VI. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your week.